Stephen, welcome to the committee again. You took the time to present to us only a week or so ago, so thank you for coming back. We've got your written submission. We've got about 15 minutes. Appreciate you being nimble of foot and being ready for us a few minutes early, so thank you. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much for...
sorry, can I just ask, can you just point that microphone a bit closer? Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Kia ora tātou. My name's Stephen Howard and this is John Minto. We're here to speak on behalf of COA's submission. I thank you for taking the time to come to Christchurch to hear submissions and hope that you've not already determined the outcomes, but will take on board the concerns of the residents and citizens of Christchurch. I note the people of Christchurch have been invited many times to give our opinion and dreams for regeneration and transformation of our city, with about 2,500 responding to the round on this bill in July, and the vast majority wanting to see democracy return to the city and districts. Much consultation has been invited, but little regard has been exhibited for the opinions expressed. Consultation needs to be meaningful and not just consultation to exhaustion. And that could refer to the very short notices between you receiving our submissions and us being here today. We need our elected local councils to be authorised and facilitated to lead the regeneration and reform. Democracy is basic to our society and is what allows the government to claim legitimacy. It should not be undermined. This bill concentrates far too much power in the hands of whichever minister the Prime Minister appoints. It does nothing to return to the elected representatives of the citizens the control and planning of our city. It allows the minister to appoint the chairperson of Regenerate Christchurch and 3 members, and to have a veto over Ngāi Tahu's nomination. It excludes elected council members from being members of the board. It authorises the minister to undermine and ignore the RMA and the Public Works Act, and I heard earlier the submission from the bloke talking about surveys, and he wasn't very happy about the undermining of the act that he works under over. It allows the minister in a patronising way to allow or disallow the plans made by elected local officials. Elected local government should shape these plans in a transparent way to meet the needs and aspirations of local citizens and residents, not the minister's aspirations. It has been reported that the minister has agreed to the appointment of a chair to deal with the mayor of Regeneration before the bill's even passed and before submissions are heard. This sort of corporatist, discreet negotiation is the very antithesis of democracy. It seems that the chair appointed to the as yet non-existent Regenerate Christchurch is already discussion a revision of the blueprint. While we would support the revision of the blueprint, planning should be public and led by the councils. Alongside the coup against democracy and ECAN, this sort of attack on democracy is yet another example of the pushing on with a failed neoliberal experiment, despite all the problems it has failed and continues to fail to address. As all it seems to be aimed at is a furthering of privatisation of resources and assets of the citizens and residents, it is also a very clear example of the concept of disaster capitalism. As stated in our written submission, we don't believe that CERA and the cartel-like bodies descending from it have made useful, efficient or effective decisions for the citizens and residents of Christchurch. But there have been other unhelpful decisions being foisted on the citizens and residents of our city from outside. I, for one, can't remember any public discussion on the extremely expensive and likely shortly to be obsolete flyover on Russley Road, Memorial Avenue corner. Another example is the Northern Arterial, which has been roundly rejected by the residents and cities of Christchurch. It's noticeable that the plans for this were resurrected almost immediately after the earthquakes began. And it has almost entirely been off the radar for most of the Christchurch cities, as dealing with the earthquake has taken priority, while all the discussion of using rail to address the traffic issues has fallen off the radar. It can only be because private transport and the building of grandiose monuments fits the ideals of this government more than dealing with the problems or listening to the cities of Christchurch citizens and residents. Costs. As we pointed out in our submission, there's been a large tax-taken inflow of finance into the rebuild, which has allowed this government to declare a surplus despite its tax cuts and has slightly assisted New Zealand's chronic balance of payment deficit. Along with the failing anchor projects, the inefficiency of ChCh and its offshoot, the city has been paying not only for the earthquakes, but for giving this government a chance to declare a surplus. It's time this government came to the party and financed the rebuild properly, while allowing the local bodies to lead. It's not time to further undermine local democracy to force sales of assets of the citizens and residents of Greater Christchurch. The general tone of the bill is to further attack on local democracy in Christchurch and Canterbury. The proper way of developing plans and organising the regeneration is not to build yet another opaque and undemocratic bastard child of ChCh. Rather, it is to resource and facilitate the local governments of the area to get on with the job they were elected for. Stakeholder is a concept one develops when one wishes to undermine the concept of citizen democracy, and we should avoid using this disingenuous term. Some sort of cooperation between Selwyn and Waimakariri district councils in the city is obviously needed. To give each council the same status, while Selwyn and Waimakariri have only a limited number of people living in the area, is not democratic. But regeneration is not the vehicle for this, and there's no need for an interventionist minister to be authorised to override reasonable democracy, the RMA, or the Public Works Act. In regard to the third stakeholder in the bill, Ngāi Tahu, with the average resident to councillor ratio in Christchurch being around 24,000 if they lift their number of councillors up, a Māori ward would give democratic recognition to the tangata whenua living within the area without giving a status to Ngāi Tahu as stakeholder equivalent to an elected council. It's worth remembering the third clause of Te Tiriti, which gives tangata whenua the duties and rights of a citizen. And I know this whakatauki comes from Waikato or not Ngāi Tahu, but it's worth remembering. Ka tahi te kao o te nera. E huna ai te mero mā, te mero pango, and te mero whiro. Democracy and local leadership need to be returned to Christchurch. Thank you for your time, and I hope you reconsider much of what was in this bill.
Thank you, Stephen. Now, Mr. Minto, do you want to make any comment or no? Okay. Members, questions? There appear to be none. Thank you.
Everything we say, then? Is that
Pardon?
right? You accept everything we say. Is that right?
Well, no.
Oh dear. Oh me.
It's a very clear submission.
Thank you.
Sometimes we don't get questions, but sometimes we do. So thank you very much again for appearing before us twice in 2 weeks or so. We appreciate it.
And if the national members want to undertake to wear these T-shirts, I'm sure I could get some made for them.
$20 each.
Thank you so much.
No, India.